Ooh, okay, I just did some yoga. I'm feeling refreshed. I hadn't done it for about a month and I just did it again. And I don't know if you know that feeling, but if you haven't done yoga for a while and then you do it, you just feel mint. It's almost worth not doing it because of how good you feel after doing it when you haven't done it for a while. Anyway, feeling good, so let's film a video. So pediatrics is a really challenging term for medical students, especially if we haven't had much exposure with babies or children or adolescents. Now I thought that I'd be pretty good at pediatrics because I have nieces and nephews and you know, I can interact with kids all right. My nickname's Silly, so we can joke about that at least. But I found it really, really tough. It was also just kind of intimidating. If it wasn't the kids that were scaring you, often the parents would scare you. And if the parents didn't really trust you, they would be kind of anxious and the kids would feed off of their parents' anxiety. So it was really challenging. So on my free time during pediatrics, I actually came up with this cool little concept and used my 3D printer to design a bit of a solution to this problem. And the solution is this, StethToys. So I thought I'd make this video, not only for the shameless self-promotion, link in the description below if you want to get one, but also to maybe inspire medical students to pursue any kind of startup ideas or any ideas for social enterprises or anything, no matter how silly they might seem. Where is my stethoscope? Just clips on. Pow. What? What did you say? Huh? I can't hear you. Oh. Hey Medicos, if this is one of your first videos, thanks for stopping by. I'm a small channel and would love for you to subscribe and be one of the early birds. I make weekly videos about all things healthcare, being a medical student, being an assistant in medicine, and a little bit of business on the side too. So, starting a startup is actually pretty easy. There are plenty of problems in the world, and a startup is just your version of a solution to the problem. Now, a startup succeeding, that's complicated. That involves things like product market fit, scalability, and the finances of it all, you know, a good business model. So I've been involved with basically 3 startups. The first one I got bought out of, so that was really good. The second one went south, that happens. And the third one is this one, StethToys. As medical students, we're actually really well placed to start startups or start businesses or try and fix problems. We are coming into healthcare with optimistic, fresh lenses. Most of the doctors in healthcare, they've had the optimism beaten out of them. They're all cynical, and I can feel myself slowly becoming cynical. But as medical students, you can see all the problems in front of you and you can just say, hey, hang on, that doesn't have to be a problem. There are solutions to these things. What's one that I could help with? So the problem for this startup is pretty simple. You start your pediatric term, you go to kids, and they all cry when you bring out the stethoscope. It's pretty traumatic for a kid to be examined by healthcare professionals, and as a medical student, you do not want to be adding to kids' trauma. However, some kids have a really fun time with medical students and can be playful and engaging, and it can be a really positive experience for them to go to hospital. So the question is basically, how can we make the examination of kids funner for them? Because kids just want to play, right? That's what they want. And an examination is scary as hell, but can be seen as playing. So I tinkered over the idea. I thought about 3D printing some toys, and at the time my neighbor had a 3D printer. So I went over to his house after med school every day, and we 3D printed a bunch of things. And eventually I 3D printed this. Let me get it. This is my graveyard of different 3D printed things. Oh, here it is. Oh, okay, it looks really scary because the eyes have been pulled off because I was running short of eyes when I was prototyping. But this, look at that. It even has my name 3D printed in the back with my phone number. I just started putting it around my stethoscope like this, and obviously it's pretty flimsy, as you can tell, and it hardly ever stayed on, but I would just have it around my stethoscope, and kids started, bringing it up, and my plan was just to kind of, you see, it's pretty crap. My plan was just to use it when I was having a difficult exam with like a child and I needed to do a cardiac exam, and I'd say something like, oh, this is Elliot the Elephant, he wants to smell you. So that was the plan. But actually, kids were bringing it up and noticing it and talking about it even when I wasn't kind of bringing it up. Even if I didn't need to examine the kid, even when the doctors were talking to the kids, they would look at my elephant and like be interested and start talking to me and start being engaged. So that was a really interesting insight. They were interested in the fact that there was a unique toy. This is very dodgy. I would never sell this, obviously. You can see that I've hand painted the trunk on. So I basically made a version 2 that I could kind of 3D print at a quicker rate. And this is what they look like. Okay, again, warning, this is a very scary elephant. As you can tell, I've been running short on eyes, and this is version 2. So I made it a bit more colorful and a little bit smaller. And let's see how it sits on the old stethoscope. Yeah, it sits a bit better actually. And so I printed about 10 of these and gave them to nurses and doctors. And I basically just kind of asked for feedback. It was all free, of course. I mean, it's a piece of crap. Oh, and look, can you guys see that? I even got StethToys.com 3D printed on the ear because I was thinking about marketing. Yes, I'm a businessman. But yeah, so I gave this to a bunch of nurses and doctors. Oh, that's right. And I 3D print these into 2 pieces, right? So that took me so long to get the size of those things right. Anyway, another story. So I gave them to a bunch of nurses and doctors and they gave me some feedback. And so their feedback was like, it's still a bit big. They didn't like the fact that that's a hand-painted circle. Like that looks so dodgy. And also business-wise, like these take hours to print. They take about an hour each to print. So it wasn't that scalable, I guess. So I went to the university. I started talking to some of the people in the startup hub at my university, and they taught me a whole bunch of things, including how to laser cut. I started learning some more advanced CAD techniques and product design and 3D printing. I eventually did some laser cutting classes and taught myself how to do that over the weekends. I came up with version 3, which is a laser cut 1. And still people didn't really like the colors. They loved the idea. People were always really supportive, really engaged with the idea of having a toy specifically for your stethoscope that was sturdy, high quality, and of course, super importantly, hygienic, something you can wash. I cannot tell you guys how often I saw people working in the the children's hospital with fluffy toys. Fluff carries germs really well. So you want something with a hard plastic that you can wipe with an alcohol wipe or with the detergent wipes on the ward. So that's why I've designed StethToys this way. So based on all the feedback, after I learned how to do all the 3D cutting, we trialed a whole bunch of different color patterns. I'd be interested to know which colors you guys prefer. And we finalized the design of Ellie the Elephant. And also, the thing that took the longest of all of this was not the design, was not the color, it was the bloody hook. I have made about 40 hooks, and this is the 41st. This is the one that fit the most number of stethoscopes, the nicest. So this was the kind of final hook we settled for. So try it out, it's really, really strong. Yeah, it's bloody sturdy. Anyway, after we had decided on the colors and the design and the frickin' hook, we soft launched it and we sold about 20 of them just to get feedback from people, and we got really positive feedback. So I'm happy to say that StethToys.com is open now. These things cost as much as a pizza, but will last, years and will help all of your pediatric examinations. Now, I didn't do this alone. I had heaps of help from the university, from my friends. I partnered with my friend Steven, who helps with all the website, and he can make computers do anything. So that's really useful. And so I'm really grateful to them. But also, I just want to let you guys know, don't be afraid of failing and don't delay starting. Just start. I made a whole video about the FBR method that I used. I'll put the card up here. Heaps of startups fail really early, and most startups fail later. And I don't mind. If this fails, that's okay. If StethToys doesn't succeed, that's okay. I'm just happy that I gave it a crack and that I helped a bunch of people with their pediatric examinations. And hopefully it helps me pay off my 3D printer. Because those things are pretty expensive. Okay guys, that's the story about StethToys. I hope if you have any ideas that you're thinking about working on, that you pursue them. I also should add, medical students are really well positioned in the business world, okay? Having a healthcare insight is super useful for a lot of startups. So go make some friends with some engineers. You can go to different uni events and talk to the engineers about what they're interested in, and have a think about how you can use their engineering skills with your medical insights to make a kind of biomedical startup, and the world will be your oyster. Okay, that's it from me for this week. Have an absolutely lovely day, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye for now.